and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nauri. In today's bulletin, we will present trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Powerful quake rocks Turkey and Syria, kills more than 3,000. Buffalo, New York area is hit with the strongest earthquake in 40 years. Neo-Nazi leaders among two arrested in plot to attack Baltimore's power grid, feds say. Controlled chemical release scheduled to prevent explosion in wake of Ohio train derailment. Two missing Missouri children found at Florida supermarket nearly 1 year later. One dead and 4 injured at rap concert in Arkansas. Beyoncé makes history and Harry Styles wins Album of the Year. Charles Kimbrough, Murphy Brown actor, dies at 86. NYC ending COVID-19 vaccination mandate for city employees. Three US tourists stabbed in Puerto Rico after being told to stop filming in a popular area. China accuses US of using indiscriminate force as military searches for balloon remnants. Pakistan blocks Wikipedia, says it hurt Muslim sentiments. Iran's supreme leader pardons tens of thousands of prisoners, state media reports. UK nurses, ambulance crews strike, straining health system. EU Parliament planning for possible Zelensky visit in days. Iran singer who faces prison wins Grammy for protest anthem. Lubomir struggle, Czechoslovak communist leader dies at 98. Kyrie Irving going to the Dallas Mavericks. And Kirk Cousins rallies NFC to 35-33 win over AFC in Pro Bowl. Now news in detail. A powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake rocked wide swaths of Turkey and neighboring Syria on Monday, killing more than 3,000 people and injuring thousands more as it toppled hundreds of buildings and trapped residents under mounds of rubble or pancaked floors. A second 7.5 magnitude earthquake has hit southeastern Turkey. It followed a quake registering 7.8 that struck the region earlier on Monday. More than 3,000 people are known to have been killed in Turkey and northern Syria. The toll is expected to rise on both sides of the border. The early morning 7.8 magnitude tremor was centered about 20 miles from Gaziantep, a major city and provincial capital in Turkey. Residents jolted out of sleep by the pre-dawn quake rushed outside in the rain and snow to escape falling debris, while those who were trapped cried for help. Major aftershocks, including one nearly as strong as the initial quake, continued to rattle the region. The quake, which was centered on Turkey's southeastern province of Kahramanmaras sent residents of Damascus rushing into the street and was felt as far away as Cairo and Beirut. Thousands of buildings were reported collapsed in a wide area extending from Syria's cities of Aleppo and Hama to Turkey's Diyarbakir, more than 303 kilometers to the northeast. A hospital came down in the Mediterranean coastal city of Iskenderun, but casualties were not immediately known. Turkish Vice President Fuat Oktay said. Offers of help from search and rescue teams to medical supplies and money poured in from dozens of countries, as well as the European Union and NATO. The vast majority were for Turkey, with Russian and even an Israel promise of help to the Syrian government. But it was not clear if any would go to the devastated rebel-held pocket in the northwest. Diplomats from the 193 member countries of the United Nations stood in silent tribute Monday to victims of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. A 3.8 magnitude earthquake struck Monday morning near Buffalo, New York, the strongest recorded in the area in 40 years. The quake hit 1.24 miles east-northeast of West Seneca, New York, with a depth of 1.86 miles around 6:15 a.m., according to the United States Geological Survey. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz said no damage reports have been received so far in West Seneca, a suburb of Buffalo that sits near the US-Canada border. He added he spoke with the Erie County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Deputy Commissioner Gregory J. Butcher, who said a confirmed quake was felt as far north as Niagara Falls and south to Orchard Park. It felt like a car hit my house in Buffalo. I jumped out of bed, Poloncarz said. Yarib Altawil, a seismologist at the National Earthquake Information Center, said northeast earthquakes happen all the time and quakes can strike anywhere at any time. Since 1983, there have been 24 earthquakes above a magnitude of 2.5 in the West Seneca region, with Monday's being the largest so far in the area. The FBI captured two people, one a nationally known neo-Nazi leader, before they could launch an attack on Baltimore's power grid, officials said Monday. The suspects, Brandon Russell and Sarah Clendaniel, were taken into custody last week, one in Maryland and the other in Florida, officials said. Federal authorities described the alleged plot as racially motivated. Russell is a founder of the Atomwaffen Division, a neo-Nazi group bent on ushering in the collapse of civilization, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. The group admires Charles Manson and supports the idea of lone wolf violence, according to the Anti-Defamation League. The suspects conspired and took steps to shoot multiple electrical substations in the Baltimore area, aiming to, quote, completely destroy this whole city. Eric Lee Barron, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, told reporters. Thomas J. Sabusinski, special agent in charge of the FBI's Baltimore office, said the suspects were serious in their efforts aimed at paralyzing the city of 580,000. More than 61% of Baltimore residents are black. The accused were not just talking, but taking steps to fulfill their threats and further their extremist goals. Russell provided instructions and location information. He described attacking the power transformers as the greatest thing somebody can do, Sabusinski said. Their actions threatened the electricity and heat of our homes, hospitals, and businesses. Officials monitoring the smoldering, tangled wreckage of a train derailment in northeastern Ohio urgently warned hundreds of nearby residents who had declined to evacuate to do so Sunday night, saying a rail car was at risk of a potential explosion that could launch deadly shrapnel as far as a mile. They warned of the potential of a catastrophic tanker failure after a drastic temperature change was observed in that rail car, according to a statement from Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's office that said teams were working to prevent an explosion at the scene in East Palestine. It did not specify what was in that car or whether it was among those that had been carrying hazardous materials. Authorities urged anyone within a 1 mile radius of the site to leave immediately. Many had, but local officials indicated more than 500 residents had declined to evacuate, the statement said. Federal investigators had announced earlier Sunday that a mechanical issue with a rail car axle caused the ferry derailment near the Pennsylvania state line Friday night. About 50 cars derailed in East Palestine as a train was carrying a variety of products from Madison, Illinois to Conway, Pennsylvania, rail operator Norfolk Southern said. No injuries to crew, residents, or first responders were reported. Two kidnapped Missouri children were found at a supermarket in Florida after nearly a year of being missing, police said. The two children had been missing since March 15, 2022, the High Springs Police Department in Florida said. They were found on Wednesday at a Florida Winn-Dixie with their non-custodial mother, Christy Nicole Gilley, police said. Nicole was detained and arrested on an active kidnapping warrant out of Clay County, Missouri, they said. Officers were able to locate the two children after doing a routine tag check on Gilley's vehicle, which indicated that the vehicle's owner was a fugitive, police said. The three were identified, despite having disguised their identities. It was not immediately clear how exactly their identities were disguised. The children were turned over to the Florida Department of Children and Family Services and will be reunited with their family, police said. One person is dead and 4 others injured following a shooting at a rap concert in Newport, Arkansas, early Sunday, police said. A 19-year-old woman was killed and 4 people were injured in the attack, which occurred during a Fredo Bank performance around 2:30 a.m., police told KIT-TV in Jonesboro. The condition of the 4 wounded individuals wasn't included in the report. One victim was flown to a hospital for further treatment. 2 suspects were arrested but were not immediately charged, Lieutenant Mark Herman told KIT-TV. Herman said he expected more arrests. Music's biggest night returned to Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena on Sunday. Trevor Noah returned as host for a 3rd time. Beyoncé made history, breaking the record for most Grammy wins of all time with 32 total awards. However, she lost in the prestigious Album of the Year category for the 4th time. Harry Styles surprised viewers when he won Album of the Year for Harry's House. The As It Was artist also won a Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album. The ceremony celebrated 50 years of hip-hop, spanning decades and regional subgenres. MCs like LL Cool J, Run DMC, Salt and Pepper, Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, Big Boy, Glorilla, Lil Baby, and more rapped in the medley. Kim Petras made Grammys history as the first transgender woman to win a Grammy in the Best Pop Duo or Group Performance category. She received a standing ovation for the win, initiated by artist Sam Smith, who urged the crowd to cheer louder. Petras thanked Madonna and the late transgender music producer Sophie, who died in 2021 and was a close friend of the singer. Viola Davis earned the rare and coveted EGOT status, becoming the 3rd black woman in history to achieve the honor. She earned her first Grammy for her performance of the audiobook for her memoir, Finding Me. Charles Kimbrough, a Tony and Emmy-nominated actor who played a straight-laced news anchor opposite Candice Bergen on Murphy Brown, died January 11 in Culver City, California. He was 86. Kimbrough played newsman Jim Dial across the 10 seasons of CBS hit sitcom Murphy Brown between 1988 and 1998, earning an Emmy nomination in 1990 for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. He reprised the role for 3 episodes in the 2018 reboot. The New York Times first reported his death and his son and agents confirmed it Sunday. Whether on stage or in front of the camera, he was a joy to behold, said SMS Talent Incorporation, the talent agency that represented Kimbrough. The agency said the actor died of natural causes in a hospital. New York City is ending its COVID-19 vaccination mandate for municipal employees, including police officers, firefighters, and teachers, Mayor Eric Adams announced Monday. The vaccine mandate, which led to the firing of hundreds of city workers who declined to get the shots, will end on Friday, the Democratic mayor said in a news release. Adams said that with more than 96% of city employees and more than 80% of city residents having received their initial vaccine series, this is the right moment for this decision. City Health Commissioner Dr. Ashwin Vasan said, "It's clear these mandates saved lives and were absolutely necessary to meet the moment. We are grateful that we can now, as we leave the emergency phase of the pandemic, modify more of the rules that have gotten us to this point." The vaccination mandate for city employees was one of the last COVID-19 measures still in place in New York City. The city ended its vaccine requirement for employees of private businesses in November 2022, and masks are now optional in most public spaces, including subways and buses. 3 U.S. tourists were stabbed in Puerto Rico early Monday after police said someone told them to stop filming in a renowned seaside community known as La Perla that is popular with visitors. The confrontation began when one of the tourists, who lives in South Carolina, began filming a mobile hamburger cart and was told to stop and leave the area, police said. 2 of the tourists remain hospitalized, including one who was stabbed 6 times, police said. No one has been arrested. Now it's time for global updates. China on Monday accused the United States of indiscriminate use of force in shooting down a suspected spy balloon over the weekend, as the U.S. military searched for remnants of the Carolina coast. The dispute over the balloon has further strained tense relations between the world's 2 largest economies, leading Secretary of State Antony Blinken to cancel a planned trip to Beijing. The Biden administration says China was using the high-altitude balloon for surveillance purposes. China says it was a civilian unmanned airship used for meteorological research that strayed off course, and said Monday that it had lodged a formal complaint with the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. Vice Foreign Minister Xi Feng said the U.S. action had seriously impacted and damaged efforts by both countries to stabilize relations since President Joe Biden met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Indonesia in November, which paved the way for Blinken's China visit. China reserves the right to take further action, Xi said. The disclosure last week that the U.S. military was monitoring the balloon caused a political uproar, with Republicans criticizing Biden for not shooting it down earlier. Defense officials, who said the balloon was of limited use in collecting intelligence, waited until it was over the Atlantic, shooting it down Saturday afternoon with a single missile from an F-22 Raptor. Pakistan's media regulator said Monday it blocked Wikipedia services in the country for hurting Muslim sentiment by not removing purportedly blasphemous content from the site. Critics denounced Islamabad's action, saying it was a blow to digital rights under Pakistan's controversial blasphemy laws. Anyone found guilty of insulting Islam or its figures can be sentenced to death, although the country has yet to carry out capital punishment of blasphemy. But even allegations of the offense are often enough to provoke mob violence and even deadly attacks. International and domestic rights groups say that accusations of blasphemy have often been used to intimidate religious minorities and settle personal scores. The Pakistan Telecommunication Authority says it blocked Wikipedia because a 48-hour deadline to remove the content was ignored, according to a spokesperson. Such things hurt the sentiments of Muslims, said Malahat Obaid from the regulator. She said Pakistani authorities are in talks with Wikipedia officials and the ban could be lifted if the platform completely removes anti-Islam content. The Wikimedia Foundation on Saturday confirmed the ban, saying, "We hope that the Pakistan government joins us in a commitment to knowledge as a human right and restores access to @Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects promptly so that the people of Pakistan can continue to receive and share knowledge with the world." Iran's supreme leader on Sunday reportedly ordered an amnesty or reduction in prison sentences for tens of thousands of people detained amid nationwide anti-government protests shaking the country, acknowledging for the first time the scale of the crackdown. The decree by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, part of a yearly pardoning the supreme leader does before the anniversary of Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, comes as authorities have yet to say how many people they detained in the demonstrations. State media offered a list of caveats over the order as well that means those with ties abroad or facing internationally criticized spying charges wouldn't be eligible. State media reports about the decree offered no explanation for the decision by Khamenei, who has final say on all matters of state in Iran. However, prisons and detention facilities already had faced overcrowding in the country after years of protests over economic issues and other matters. Tens of thousands of nurses and ambulance staff walked off the job in the UK on Monday in what unions called the biggest strike in the history of the country's public health system. The walkout is the latest in a wave of strikes that has disrupted Britain's lives for months, as workers, especially in the public sector, demand pay raises to keep pace with double-digit inflation. Teachers, train drivers, airport baggage handlers, border staff, driving instructors, bus drivers and postal workers also have all walked off their jobs in recent months to demand higher pay. Teachers, health workers and many others say their wages have fallen in real terms over the last decade, and a cost of living crisis fueled by sharply rising food and energy prices has left many struggling to pay their bills. The strike piles more pressure on the state-funded National Health Service, already staggering under demand from winter viruses, staff shortages and backlogs built up during the COVID-19 pandemic. Nursing unions say emergency care and cancer treatment will continue during their 48-hour walkout, but thousands of appointments and procedures are likely to be postponed. The ambulance service says it will respond to the most urgent calls during a day-long strike, but Business Secretary Grant Shapps said the strike could put lives at risk, leaving people with a postcode lottery when it comes to having a heart attack or a stroke. The European Union's legislature was preparing plans Monday to host Vladimir Zelensky should the Ukraine president decide to come to Brussels to attend an EU summit later this week. Two sources in the parliament who spoke on condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue said such plans are only meant to prepare the legislature to host Zelensky if security conditions permit him to attend Thursday's meeting. "When he would come, we would be ready," said one of the sources, stressing that because of security concerns, any decision could only come at the last moment. EU leaders from 27-nation bloc will be gathering for Thursday's summit in Brussels, enabling Zelensky to meet all major leaders of the bloc in one day. Zelensky has often addressed EU summits only through video calls from Ukraine. Zelensky has long had an open invitation to come to Brussels if he chose to. It remains unclear whether Zelensky would be able to travel as Russian forces are keeping Ukrainian troops tied down with attacks in the eastern Donbas region amid concern that of a new Russian offensive could be in the offing. An Iranian singer who faces possible prison time for his song that's become an anthem to the ongoing protests shaking the Islamic Republic wept early Monday after saying he had won a Grammy. Shervin Hajipour appeared stunned after hearing Jill Biden, the wife of President Joe Biden, announce he had won the Grammy's new song for social change special merit award for Barai, An online video showed Hajipur in a darkened room, wiping tears away after the announcement. Hajipur's song Baraye, or For in English, begins with "For dancing in the streets, for the fear we feel when we kiss." The lyrics list reasons young Iranians have posted on Twitter for why they had protested against Iran's ruling theocracy. It ends with the widely chanted slogan that has become synonymous with the protest since the September death of Iranian Kurdish woman Mahsa Amini. For women, life, freedom. Released on his Instagram page, the song quickly went viral. Hajipur then was arrested and held for several days before being released on bail in October. The 25-year-old singer faces charges of propaganda against the regime and instigating the violence, according to human rights activists in Iran, a group that's been monitoring the months-long protests. Lyubomir Strugl, a Czechoslovak communist-era leader who served as prime minister for a record length of more than 18 years, has died. He was 98. His death was confirmed to media by former Communist Party lawmaker Jiří Dolec on Monday. No details were given. Strugl was appointed prime minister in 1970, when the country was ruled by a hardline communist regime established following the 1968 Soviet-led invasion of Czechoslovakia. Warsaw Pact troops invaded in August 1968 to crush political reforms and anti-communist protests during the era known as the Prague Spring. Strugl initially opposed the invasion but later joined the hardliners after Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev introduced a reform program known as perestroika, or restructuring. Strugl was considered a pragmatic reformer, but the hardliners led by Miloš Jakeš prevailed, with Strugl resigning from his post in 1988. A year before the Velvet Revolution led by Václav Havel ended more than 41 years of communist rule. Now it's time for business news. New York stock close price is 15,895.36. The NYSE composite is decreased by 104.36 points or 0.65%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,693.65. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 184.19 points or 0.67%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,238.6978. The Shanghai Composite Index is decreased by 24.71 points or 0.76%. Hong Kong stock close price is 21,222.16. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 438.31 points or 2.02%. Bombay stock close price is 60,506.90. The Sensex Index is decreased by 334.98 points or 0.55%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Kyrie Irving is getting his wish. He is getting traded. And Luka Doncic is getting another All-Star to help him in Dallas. The Mavericks and Brooklyn Nets agreed Sunday on a blockbuster trade. Irving, the super-talented and often enigmatic 8-time All-Star point guard, heads to Dallas, ending the pairing with Kevin Durant that never really had a chance to click. The Nets bring Spencer Dinwiddie back to Brooklyn along with Dorian Finney-Smith and a package of draft picks, according to a person familiar with the terms of the deal who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because it had not been finalized. Dallas also gets Markieff Morris. The Athletic and ESPN first reported the trade agreement. It will become complete once the teams have a call with the NBA, which is a standard for all trades. For Kirk Cousins, it wasn't quite the NFL record 33-point comeback against the Indianapolis Colts to win the NFC North. However, Cousins was the quarterback for the third and final flag football game at the Pro Bowl on Sunday for a reason. NFC coach Eli Manning wanted Cousins in that spot to decide the overall winner. And the Minnesota Vikings QB responded by throwing 3 touchdowns passes to rally the NFC to a 35-33 victory over the AFC in the Pro Bowl games and end that conference's 5-game losing streak. Cousins completed 15 of 19 passes for 150 yards in the NFL's reformatted All-Star contest, which gave the NFC the victory. It's hard to wait around that long to play, but I appreciate Eli letting me be the third guy and fun to go in there and be the closer, Cousins said. Based on the earlier flag games and skills competitions, the AFC took a 21-15 lead into the final flag game. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.